Hi guys, Tyler from T.N.T. Garage and Performance here, just with a little video update that, just project, progress. And what that is, and the project I'm talking about, is my 1973 Checker Marathon. Now, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about or haven't seen it, go back and watch the rescue video that me and my dad did going down to pick up that old gem. Now, I have chosen a direction with that car, and that's an old school 60 style gasser. Well, if you're going to build something like that, you need to start collecting parts. And well, it's got a 250 cubic inch straight six in it. That's not going to do. Now, I started thinking of what can I put in it, which something like that, you could put anything in it. And I thought, well, budget minded, because it is a two-phase project. I have two complete 350s. I have one 350 in various parts. And I've got a fair amount of heads. They're all cast iron heads, but I have a fair amount of heads. And then I thought, well, for what I want to do, and for the power I'd like to make, and for the sound I want it to make, there's a lot of money that goes into a small block to do that, because a lot of your factory cast heads for small blocks, aside from any of the 202 stuff, just aren't up to it. And sticking money into a TPI head or something like that just doesn't make sense. I mean, Vortec heads work great, but you got to put work into them. And I've heard Vortec heads be gone through for as much as $1,500, and you may as well buy new heads. So that being said, then I thought, what else can I do? I almost had a line on a couple bull power bed blocks, and that would have been cool. But then I thought, maybe I could put an LS in it. So I bought a big block. What I have here is a 73 to 75 454 out of a passenger car. Pretty good starting point. Where I really lucked out with this engine is this, with the oval port heads on it, are 781 castings. Now, if you don't know, or if you do know much about big blocks, when it comes to oval port heads, the 781s and the 049s are about the best you can get from the factory. So I got really lucky with this engine. These have a 116 to 118 cc combustion chamber, and that's depending on who you're talking to. They vary. They also have a 256 cc inlet runner, 202 intake valves, 1.7 exhaust. So pretty good head. Yes, you can wake them up a lot with a valve job with bigger valves and a little bit of porting. But for anyway, with budget in mind, I'm going to leave these heads alone. They're going to flow enough for what I'm trying to do, and it's the top end of the engine. If it doesn't make the power I want, I can always just pop them off, get the work done, throw them back on. As far as the block goes, the reason why I got this for a very good price is that the cam was starting to go away. Now, that's why I pulled it apart. It was a complete engine. I wanted to look and see what was going on. Fortunately, the cam is going away, but fortunately, it's not completely white. There's no completely round lobes. They still have a shape to them. But some of the lifters are just ever so slightly mushroomed to where you can't easily pull them out of the bore. So what I'm going to do there is, once I take it apart, punch them down through so I don't mar up my lifter bores. But other than that, none of them are caved in, anything like that. So there shouldn't have been a whole lot of metal to go through the engine. However, I am going to take it apart and inspect it anyway. I want to make sure the crank is clean and not scarred or anything like that. The cylinder bores on the driver's side bank look great. The pistons look good, which really don't matter to me, because what I'm going to do is essentially build the bottom end like I did with my son's small block, with the exception of putting LS6 pistons in it with a 22cc dome to bump our compression with those heads up between 9.5 to 10 to 1 compression. And as far as a bump stick in this thing, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to go with a flat tappet comp 244 duration at 50 with about 550 lift, which is coincidentally about as much as these heads can handle without machine work as far as machining your valve guides down, stuff like that. And it'll be on a 110 LSA, so it'll give us a really, really aggressive idle. It'll give us decent amount of power, and basically I'm building the engine to go for sound. That's just how I am. But it'll make good power as well, in a neighborhood of 500 to 550. So it'll be a streetable big block that just sounds amazing, a lot of fun. It'll move that checker along the way I want it to for phase one. Now, as far as anything else, obviously there's not an intake in view. Now, what was on it was a pretty cool old piece. This, is an old school Holly Street Dominator single plane. Now, it is the shortest single plane I've ever seen in my life, but a neat old piece. I'm not going to use it. Maybe for initial startup when I go to break the cam in, just because it'll be easier. Because we're going to go with a little bit different induction on this engine. And, well, it requires two 4-barrel Hollies that I picked up as a match set. So just stay tuned for that. Now, if you guys want to watch this engine get built up, and of course you do, it's a big block. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like this video and many others. You could share them, go ahead and comment on them. And also look back to that where we picked up the checker and look forward to the new video coming out real soon where I put full exhaust on my Challenger. Factory exhaust was fine, it sounded okay, but I wanted something a little meatier, and I didn't want Hellcat sound. So stay tuned for that as I put a new exhaust on the Challenger. Stay tuned for this build coming up. And of course, remember, if it ain't broke, fix it till it is.